Hey, greetings, friends. I'm Pastor David G. Grogan Sr. I'm the senior pastor at Sojourner Life Ministries in San Antonio, Texas. And I'm the voice of Phineas's Javelin. I'm going to press right on today. If you like what you hear, before I get started, if you like what you hear, I should just subscribe to my channel, Pastor David G. Grogan Sr. When you see the bell, ring the bell, ding. When you ring the bell, you'll be notified when my videos come out. Give me a thumbs up, give me a thumbs down, and leave your comments. I read all of your comments. All right, the thumbs up, the good or bad is good for the analytics. I appreciate y'all very much. I'm gonna go right off into this today. You know, this is one of the things that we've been dealing with. I've been kind of covering over time. The whole thing with the males and females getting involved in each other's backyards. I'm gonna say that, but you know, doing things that are out of their natural gender to be doing. This particular article is really good. Okay, it's really good because it really gives a lot of information. It kind of combines a lot of the information that you know, I've been talking about and trying to kind of put together over a period of time. So I really enjoy this. I want to share this with y'all. But before I do that, I don't know if y'all have heard of this other. Let me go ahead and grab this other little spot right here real quick. Because I want to just read kind of like the headline of this particular spot right here. If you see behind me, I got a monitor that I'm trying to work on. I'm trying to get this thing up and going so I could have two modes of information going at one time, or at least combining where you can see what I'm talking about while I'm doing it. You know, technological upgrades. It's happening slow, but it's happening. Let me get my visual accumulators on here. This particular article, real quick, just mostly just the first few lines of it before I get off into where I'm gonna go. Team USA. This particular one right here is from the New York Post. You'll see it in the inset here. Team New York Post. Team USA makes the wrong kind of Olympic history. This is dated July the 24th, 2021, at 3:59 p.m. The Zach Brasilia is the author of this particular spot, and just a couple of lines off of it, a few lines off it. It says, "This isn't the kind of history the United States wanted to set for the first time in 49 years, y'all." According to Olympic historian Bill Malone, the U.S. failed to medal on the first day of the Summer Olympics. Even 11 gold medals were given out Saturday. But an American did not place in the top 3 in any of these events, falling short in fencing, archery, cycling, air rifle, pistol shooting, and weightlifting. Keep that in mind. Okay, a couple of more lines. It was believed second-ranked Eli Dorschwitz had a good start to medal in men's saber, but he lost to Jungwon Kim of South Korea in round 16. In the women's 10-meter air rifle, favorite Mary Tucker placed 6th. Brandon McNulty was in position to medal in the cycling road race before struggling at the end of the 6th place finish. In the 1972 Summer Olympics in Munich, a bad opening day didn't translate into a poor performance for the United States. It still finished in the games with 33 gold medals and 94 total medals, the second most in both categories, behind the Soviet Union. So with that said, you know, they want to finish this thing with a spill. Not a spill, but with a good outlook. You know, they're not gonna let it get them down. You know, it's the first time in 49 years, but we're not gonna let it get us down, because this is the kind of stuff that just happens every now and then. You can say it's cyclical if you want to. You can say whatever you want to say. I just say right now that the United States, because our minds are in so many other areas than where they need to be, it's causing an issue everywhere in the United States, and then as we go abroad. But this particular article is where I really want to hit it, because this has to do with the Olympics and everything involved in it, not just from people here in the United States, but from people around the globe. Because, you know, if I told you, sin is global. You know, sin is global, y'all. You know, sin is not confined to the United States of America. Sin is global. It's all over the place. And when you have the type of sin that is all over the place, and especially these perversions, these things that man wants to make right when God says they are absolutely, abominably wrong. Then you have the kind of stuff taking place that we have going on. And it doesn't matter what mankind says, y'all, you're not going to be able to make God wrong, and mankind is not going to be able to make himself right. So with that said, this particular article is really good. Once again, this is out of the Daily Signal. It's dated July the 22nd, 2021. A couple of days ago, I kind of held off onto it because I had a busy week, y'all, really busy week. You're going to find that I'm probably going to be putting out maybe 3 or 4 videos a week. I want to give you quality. I'm not worried about quantity. I'm already being censored. My subscription ratings are not going up very much, and I'm throwing the views to a lot of my videos are very small, but that's all right. You know, I'm going to go and keep on doing it because I enjoy doing it. It gives me a way to vent. So if they're trying to, shut me down, then the only way they'll be able to do it is electronically. And if they do that, well, I'll still, do what God has me to do, and that's get the gospel out. But I digress. So we are doctors. Here's the truth about transgender females, bodies, and athleticism. Okay, love it. Okay. Once again, this is the article. The title of the article is "We Are Doctors." Period. Here's the truth about transgender females, bodies, and athleticism. July 22nd, 2021. Michelle Cretella and looks like Quentin Van Meter are the authors of this particular article. So I'm gonna press right into this reading because we got a little bit to do. So when it was announced that Laurel Hubbard, a male athlete who identifies as female, was selected to represent New Zealand on the women's weightlifting team in the upcoming Olympic Games in Tokyo, it was considered by some to be a victory for the transgender movement and, quote, the power of inclusion. Let me say something real quick. That word inclusion, another tag word. Another huge tag word, y'all, that they have in this particular last couple of years with this whole LGBTQIA fervor that's going out around the country and around the globe, and when it comes down to racism, critical race theory, and all these other things that are going on, that particular word is another word that you're going to be hearing used a lot for probably years to come. Inclusion. Let me go on. So Anna van Bellinghen, a female weightlifter from Belgium who hoped to qualify in the same event as Hubbard, made it clear that she, quote, fully supports the transgender community, unquote. However, she correctly pointed out that steroids, which give athletes unfair advantages, can have retained benefits even years after their use. Quote, so why is it still a question whether 2 decades from puberty to the age of 35 with a hormonal system of a man also with the hormonal system of a man also would give an advantage, in italics, in competing against women, unquote. She asked in a recent interview. The International Olympic Committee ruled in 2015 that transgender athletes, quote, who transition from male to female are eligible to compete in the female category, unquote, so long as their testosterone level has been below a certain threshold at least 12 months. At least 2 recent peer-reviewed studies challenged this rule. One published in the Journal of Sports Medicine found, quote, the muscular advantage enjoyed by transgender women, men on estrogen, okay, there's actually men, transgender women, men on estrogen, is only minimally reduced when testosterone is suppressed, unquote, for 12 months. A second review article found that male strength advantage found the male strength advantage to remain even after 3 years of testosterone suppression, even if the strength advantage could be eliminated. Now listen to this. Even if the strength advantage could be eliminated, however, to reduce the definition of female human being to having a certain level of testosterone in your body for a certain amount of time completely ignores the scientific reality that genetics, not testosterone, is at the root of all of that makes the two sexes different. Listen to me. These are Anybody that would say different about this, they're ungodly. They are ungodly. Why do I say they're ungodly? Because God created a man and a woman. A man has his body build, his physique, his mindset, his spirit is of a man. A woman has her mindset, her spirit, her bodily makeup as a woman. And that you're never going to be able to change that, y'all. You're never going to be able to change that. And so when these men try to be women and the women try to be men, you're not going to be able to compete. You're not going to be able to do the things that you say that you want to do just because you think that you're the opposite sex from or gender from what you actually are. You're not going to be able to change that. God is flawless. God is flawless. He makes no mistakes. When he created a man and a male and a female, he created them both with their purpose. That's why you've heard me say, if you don't live your life as the gender that you were created to be, male or female, you will never be able to fulfill your purpose on this earth. If you rebel against God openly and say that, well, I'm a male and you're a female, you will never be able to fulfill the purpose that you were put on the earth to, because you were trying to fulfill that purpose outside of the gender, the person that God created you to be. If you are so so upset about who you are as a male or a female, then you might as well listen to me. Ain't no change going to take place. You might as well just live with it, because you are going to tear your body up, tear up your spirit, truly frustrate yourself. That's why there's so much suicide and stuff like that in the LGBTQIA community, because you frustrate yourself trying to be something that you're not, wanting to be something that you're not, and you don't even, listen to me, there's no way on this earth that you're going to change God. You cannot change God. God created a perfect gender, male and female. Why won't you find it in your heart to be glad of who you are? Okay, so let's go on. Let me just go with this right here. So when males are allowed to compete in athletic leagues designed for females, they deprive female athletes of the opportunity to safe and fair participation in the sports. As Von Bellingham said, quote, life-changing opportunities are missed for some athletes, medals and Olympic qualifications, and we are powerless, unquote. Feel so bad for them. Because this is perversion. How could you? And then they do it. A lot of these people, they do it, and they don't. These males that run against the females and blow them out. They do all the things they do. They don't feel bad about it because their minds have been destroyed and overtaken by Satan. They don't feel bad about it like they should, because they've lost their ability to be shamed. They've lost their ability to have emotion. They've lost the ability to be sympathetic and compassionate towards the opposite sex. A man should be totally sympathetic to a woman and what she's going through. And women are totally sympathetic to a man when a man wants to be a man and has a hard time being a man because things aren't going right. A good woman will look at that man that's struggling and do everything she can to encourage him to keep on keeping on. You're a man. Don't worry about it. We all have problems in our life, but these people right here, they're losers in their own gender sports. And so what they do is even though some of them have been transgender for a long time, you can be transgender if you want to, and still run in the Olympic sport as the gender that you are, because I believe that they would let you if you're a man and you transgender to be a woman, but they know that you're a man and your DNA says that you're a man. I don't see why they wouldn't let you run as a man. So run with the men. And then after you get finished doing your running, and after you get finished doing your sport, and then if you want to go ahead and walk around, switching and wearing high heels and bras and using male tampons and all that kind of stuff, then you would do it then. But while you're running in these sports and doing these sports things, why don't you run with the people? Why don't you give fair competition? Get in fair competition. These are a bunch of losers. These are men. They can't win in their own gender, racing with against men. So what they do is they go and they run or wrestle or do whatever they do, lift weights against the opposite sex, and look, and they wipe up the floor with them. And then they walk around, they switch around, act like they done did something. Oh, getting their gold medals. They ought to be ashamed of themselves. It's pathetic. It is really quite perverse to see that take place, because those are they're not winning as men, they're winning as women, and they're men. So that's why this young lady here, Miss Ben Bellingham, she has a right to say exactly what she has to say, and I understand. She says, well, I'm sympathetic to the transgender, the LGBTQIA community. You can be sympathetic to them if you want to, ma'am, but the fact is they're still going to come and take your stuff away from you, and they don't care if you're sympathetic with them or not. That's the same way Satan is. You could be a witch if you want to. Satan don't care if you're a witch. You could be a witch if you want to. He still hates you. You're not doing anything good for him. He's still gonna hate you. And that's the same way these transgenders are. You can be sympathetic to their cause if you want to, but if they could do anything they can to abuse you and mistreat you and do things that will make you look bad because they want to look good, that's exactly what they're gonna do. And they don't feel no way about it. They'll get up on that podium with their gold medal, gold medals and stuff like that. This guy right here, talk about a woman. There's no way. That dude is butt ugly. look. You see him in the inset, but he's a woman, and he lifts weights in the women's competition. Sinful, totally sinful. So let's go on. So she is not alone. Listen to this. Female sports at all levels have been infiltrated by the transgender ideology. Here are just a few examples of how females have been harmed when forced to compete against males. 1, in track and field, male high school runner CC Telfer won 3 titles in the Northeast 10 championships for women's track and received the most outstanding track athlete award. Once again, transgender, man running against women. 2, in softball, male player Patrick Cordova, golf, took one of 15 spots on his California high school women's varsity softball team. Should have been all women there. But once again, because they could do this, he went out for that spot, and it was very, very easy for him to take that spot away from the ones that he competed against. 3, in basketball, a 50-year-old, 6'8", 230-pound man, Gabrielle Robert Ludwig, led the Mission College women's basketball team to a national championship with the most rebounds. Go figure. Look, 6'8", 230 pounds, and at 50 years old, just running over women, pushing them out of the way, going to the boards and just bumping them out of the way. Listen to me, they don't have the body strength, y'all. Their bodies are not made up women's bodies are not made up to stand against men's bodies. I'm gonna tell you something. You get the top UFC woman in the ring against the top UFC male in the ring, and you tell them to fight to the first one on the floor, or the fight to the first one that knocked out. Let me tell you something. If that woman knocks that man out, shame on him. But I guarantee you this, that man's gonna be so strong and so powerful that the first time he connects to her body, her face, her jaw, her eye socket, her ribs, he's gonna tear that woman apart. If he fights her the way that he would fight another man, the only way that would stop that from happening is if he had some pity on her and held back. But if he goes all out, it's just not gonna happen, y'all. It's just not gonna happen. Okay, let's go on. So, with that said, in mixed martial arts, male fighter Fallon Fox, listen to this now. In mixed martial arts, male fighter Fallon Fox shattered female fighter Tamika Brent's eye socket and gave her a concussion. Brent said she never felt so overpowered in her life. I was just saying, what did I just say? I hate this. I hate this because the LGBTQIA+ community, they love this kind of crap. This man went in there knowing that he's a man, trying to act like he's a woman. switching in the ring, and gonna get up there and hit this woman in her face and look, shattered her eye socket and gave her a concussion. And he probably walked around with his hand up in the air like he did, so he's a punk. He's a punk, y'all. I'm sorry, y'all. He's a punk. He's a sissy. He needs to fight men in his own category, in his own class. He needs to fight men in UFC. Fight the men. In mixed martial arts, fight the men. Don't fight the women. You probably fight the women because you know you can't beat the men. That's his problem. That's his problem. So, and then this fifth one, in Connecticut State Track and Field Championships, two male high school runners, Andrea Yarwood and Terry Miller, took first and second place in multiple events, beating out top high school girls from across the state. Yearwood was named Connecticut's Athlete of the Year. Shame on the committee. Shame on these people's parents. I would tell my daughter, babe, I know you want to run, but you can't beat those men. You can't beat those young boys because these boys are trained to run their particular spots the same way you train to run yours. But they're men. They're men. And they go in there and they beat out these young girls and they hurt these young girls' spirit. They hurt their feelings, and these women know that they have been misused. They know that they have been done wrong, and they hate it. But what can they do when you have all these perverted committee members, all these cowards, all these freaks and geeks on these boards that will allow these men to run and wage sport against these females? Yeah, you can say whatever you want to say about what I'm saying. I know what I'm saying. It's the truth. And you know it's the truth. It's just that you don't want to admit it. Because you want to include, you want to be woke. You want to be a part of the inclusion. Listen to me. No. This is wrong, and it will never, ever be right. The simple truth is that males outperform females in regard to speed and strength due to inborn genetics and sex hormones. This has consistently been proven by long-term research on elite athletes when matched for training. The sex hormone testosterone plays an important role in relegating bone mass, fat distribution, muscle mass, strength, and the production of red blood cells, according to higher circulating hemoglobin. This is particularly true during puberty. After puberty, male circulating testosterone concentrations are 15 times greater than those of females at any age. At any age. Listen to me. Males and females, males and females, they have their different chemical levels. Males have more testosterone than females will ever have. Females have more estrogen than males will ever have. And that's not going to change, y'all, because God created you. Your DNA says what you are. And no matter how hard you fight against it, it's not going to change, okay? It's not going to change. It goes on to say, after puberty, male circulating testosterone, I did that right there. The results is a clear male advantage in regard to muscle mass, strength, and circulating hemoglobin levels, even after adjusting for sex differences in height and weight. Athletic differences are also due to genetics. Studies have identified more than 3,000 genes that are differentially expressed in male and female skeletal muscle. Obvious bone differences due to a combination of genetics and hormones even exist at birth. The average male is heavier and taller than the average female, and this advantage continues when controlled for a stage of puberty throughout life. Genetics is why a male who self-identifies as female remains male, and giving estrogen to a male does not transform him into a female. This is a great article. Finally, somebody had the courage to go ahead and write an article. This is me, and it's in this article, this particular article, that you can argue all you want to, and you have scientists out there that will disregard the truth because they don't have a problem disregarding the truth to make it a lie, and that's exactly what they do. But this right here, listen to me. You know, my wife and I, married 42 years. And we would play, we would wrestle, we wrestle and she's strong. She knows how to use her leverage. I mean, she's a strong country girl, knows how to use her leverage and stuff like that. But at any given time, if I decide I just want to just break through all that, look, I'll just pick her up on my head and toss it, and because I'm stronger here and down here because of the way I train and I'm stronger, she can't beat me. She can't beat me. Listen to me, y'all. I'm not saying I love my wife. We have a great time together. And I trained her to take care of herself because we're living in a time out here now where you got all these geeks out, these young black bulls running around here, these young men running around here, black and white, but a lot of them in the news black, and they're beating up on women. They're beating up on women. They are a bunch of monsters, animals, and they're beating up on women. These guys that will come out here in these sports and they will run against the women, lift weights against the women, fight against the women, do all the things that they do against the women, and then act like they've done something. They ain't no good. They ain't no good. And their sin is already before them, before God anyway. So they're going to give an account to God for their open rebellion against him anyway, as when they come out as women and he has created them to be men. So they're going to stand before God and receive their condemnation, but they can be saved from that if they just will. Let me finish off this article. I'm almost done, and then I'll close out. So genetics is why a male who self-identifies as a female remains male, and giving estrogen to a male does not transform him into a female. While it is true that a male using estrogen will lose muscle strength and impair other aspects of his physiology, he does not alter his genetics. He remains male and the cellular level in all body systems. It's not going to change because God created it. It's not going to change. All the science in the world is not going to make it change. So similarly, a female who self-identifies as male remains female, and given her testosterone does not transform her into a male. In terms of genetics, she remains female at the cellular level. These inherent sex-based differences also mean that females are at higher risk of athletic injuries. For instance, stress fractures involving the long bones of the legs in runners are more frequent in females. Male athletes are far less susceptible due to their larger and denser bones. Taken together, these discrepancies render females, on average, unable to compete effectively against males in power-based or endurance-based sports. Science and common sense agree. When males are allowed to compete in athletic leagues designed for females, they deprive girls and women of the opportunity to safe and fair participation in sports. And that's the end of the article. This is a great article. Great article, y'all. And I don't really have to add too much more to it except for the fact that, God created a man and a woman. And anything outside of that, y'all, anything that you do outside of that to try to change that, you are perverting and making unholy what God has created to be right and holy. Okay? Listen to me. If you're not saved, receive Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior today. Because if you confess that you're a sinner, the Word of God says in 1 John 1:9 that if you confess you have sinned, that he is faithful and just to forgive you of your sin and cleanse you of all unrighteousness. And then if you're not saved, the Word of God says if you can profess with your mouth and believe in your heart that Jesus Christ died on the cross for your sin and rose on the third day with all power, the Word of God says if you make that profession of faith and believe with your heart, you will be saved today, because you make the profession with your mouth and you believe with your heart unto righteousness, because God knows this. He will know the sincerity of your heart. And then it goes on to say in verse number 13 that whoever calls upon the name of the Lord shall be saved. Listen to me, y'all. This is a great thing that God has done. And true salvation will bring forth also a deliverance from these demonic and these perverse mindsets. Jesus Christ, y'all, the blood of the Lamb, salvation, and your belief in God can truly deliver you from these mindsets. You can truly be delivered from the snare of the enemy if you will give your life to Christ. Jesus Christ can deliver you from homosexuality, lesbianism, transgenderism, non-binary, all of these wicked mindsets, y'all, because that's what they are. If you are a woman, you were created with a purpose by God to be a female, and you will not, as I said before, ever be able to fulfill your purpose as a woman when you try to live your life as a man. If you're a man and you try to live your life as a woman, you will never be able to fulfill your purpose that you were created to fulfill your purpose for as a man when you try to be a woman. That's not going to change, y'all. So this article is a great article. It states very clearly that women are not able to defeat or be in sport against men. And some of these certain sports and stuff like that, when it comes down to muscle mass and strength and speed and endurance, women run what they call marathons the way men do. But from what I've always understood, what I've always seen is that the men beat out the women in the marathons. When was the last time you saw a woman beat one of these Kenyan men that run these marathons? You very rarely see anybody beat those Kenyans when they're running those marathons, because those men can run. But you won't see a woman run against them because they can't beat them, because their endurance level is not the same. The muscle mass, y'all, the strength, they're just not the same. I feel so bad for that woman that was in that mixed martial arts that got her eye socket shattered by a man who will have the nerve to go in there and fight against a woman and then say and think and act like he done did something. He hasn't done anything, y'all. He hasn't done anything. So look, I'm done. I'm gonna keep an eye on, ear open for this kind of stuff. And as far as the United States and the Olympics, I think we're doing terrible because our hearts and our minds are terrible. Our hearts and our minds are not on the things that they should be on. I think they're all these social justice warriors. They're more involved and more. They're not, instead of having fun and the camaraderie of the sport of the Olympics. People are doing things so they can get a name, so they can get out in public and talk about what they think should be done. And because they done made a name for themselves in the Olympics, then everybody, these people that don't have enough sense to think for themselves, will listen to them and act like they mean something. But when it comes down to it, that's why the United States is doing so bad. This was because the quality of athlete in the United States is just not the way it used to be. The quality of athletics in the United States is just not what it used to be. Yeah, you have some phenoms that'll come out. There's some that'll do really good somewhere down the line, I'm sure. But when it comes down to it, the sport is just not sport. Let me say this, quick, before I close. I did not even know that the Milwaukee Bucks had won the NBA championship until my wife told me about it. And you know why I didn't know? Because I didn't care. And with that said, God bless you. Until we come back together again in the next video. Farewell, y'all.